All right, guys. Monday night football kicking off in a few. We're not talking about Monday Night Football. We're going to talk about the Hokies football and the Hokies victory over Marshall on Saturday. Virginia Tech defeated Marshall 31-14.
I was wondering when I was gonna get some gumption out of you.
We got our first win of the season. The Win podcast, they're a little bit better now. As Billy Ray said in the Walking Out of Lane Stadium video, we're not throwing a party about this win. Still got a lot of things to work on. However, we definitely have some takeaways we want to chat about over the next hour or however long. But we did get a win, and I think it's pretty fair to say that it went how we thought it was going to go. 20 points was a lot to cover. We didn't cover. I think both of us predicted. What were you, 41-17? You might have had us covering.
Something like that. 41-17, 38-17. I was kind of in that realm. And again, I think, we're going to talk about what we felt like walking out of the stadium. But the final score was what we probably thought it was going to be, and probably would be like, yeah, if we won by that much, I'd feel okay about it. But it was the visual that left us wanting a little bit more.
We talked about wanting to see Virginia Tech play Virginia Tech football. We saw a little bit of that. The defense played well. We did run the ball very well to start the second half. We did return a punt. There are also some areas where we did not play Virginia Tech football, like getting a punt blocked or having a special teams penalty. But we're going to talk about all of it. We're the Sons of Saturday. Billy Ray is over there up in Optimist area, NODA. I'm down here at Myers Park, and we're happy. I guess we are happier than we were last week. I think
for sure.
Way to say it. We're not satisfied. We're ready for more. We still got a lot of football to play this year. But do you want to kick us off with a Hokie haiku? We got two.
Yeah. Pete McGee always holding it down. Why watch the first half? Second half is where it's at. 3-score W. W is written out. Very creative by you, Pete McGee. Well done.
Oswald, he says, lads, we won the game. Stop complaining and enjoy. The season is short.
Oswald sounds like BRM circa 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. But I respect it.
Hey, we got to have a standard.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the outlook. We need that kind of outlook. We need that PVO, positive vibes only. So thank you, Oswald, for your submission. Oswald's had some good poetry over the years. Where did we watch? Where did we tailgate? Home opener, sellout crowd, week 2 in Blacksburg, epic kickoff time. And we left from Charlotte at about 10:45, and I read the riot act. He's like, hey, we're going to get on the road at 10:30. What do you think about that? And I said, all right, can I bum on over to the Riddler at F45 and try to crush a Saturday morning hour with the local guys and gals over there? Billy's like, sure, dude. So I rolled in probably 10:50, 20 minutes late, but we did get on the road. Billy Ray, did you like that easy proximity now that you are?
I love the proximity. And I do want to say the riot act came from, look, Juliana crushed getting her makeup and hair done, and we were ready to go. And as soon as the makeup and hair is done, it's, where's Pat? And I looked at Find My Friends. Pat was not here. So that was the point of contention. But thank goodness I do live in Charlotte. First time ever doing the Charlotte to Blacksburg in one day. Unbelievable, up and back, super easy, fun drive. It's awesome that from Charlotte to Blacksburg, you miss out on the traffic from the beach, Richmond, Nova, DC. You don't hit any of that. I don't think we hit a minute of traffic. And once you hit go on, shout out to Bryce Chalkley, once you hit go on Castle on a Hill, when you take that, Radford, Blacksburg-ish exit, I don't know what exit it is. It's one of the exits, but you always hit play. You're never sitting in traffic. You just pull right into Blacksburg and it's easy peasy. The only issue on the way in, and I'll own this as you have owned your lateness, was I did miss the Elkin Chick-fil-A on the way in, which was a huge bummer. That is a must hit on the way up from Charlotte or anywhere south of Blacksburg. So I did miss that exit, and a couple of other exits, honestly. But we did get there in one piece.
Huge miss, but we did get some sheets. We had to settle for sheets. Wasn't as good. It's not like going to a Wawa. You never know who or what you're going to run into when you walk into those cast iron doors of the sheets.
Some alternative lifestyle people, Pat. Just unbelievable. Quite a scene.
So game day was great, though. Like, I think the coolest thing was the temperature.
It was the best game day weather that we've had. I'm almost willing to say it's the best game day weather that we've had since pre-COVID, at least. Like, it depends on what like your definition is. Like, I'm judging it based upon, okay, first home opener in September, it's probably going to be hot. Was not hot. It was almost chilly. I mean, I had some nipples showing on the shirt on my polo because I was a little nippy, but then it warmed up because you're in the sun. It ended up working out great. Fantastic weather. You can sign me up for that every single day in the month of September. But I don't think enough positive things can be said about the weather. It was incredible.
Now we do want to. I think game day in general was a little bit different, but before we go to that, it was fun running into so many of you guys passing out the Benny's Beat Marshall buttons.
Oh, you crushed that.
Bring it over to Benny's on Marzano's on Draper, not in the stadium. Get $1 off your slice. I know the kids were loving it. The kids were loving the Hokie flair. We got that late on Friday, so we're passing them out on game day. So it was a good time. What do we think of Enter Sandman? I feel like there was a little bit. It was a little different.
There were a couple things that I need to take issue with. Overall vibe was just weird from start to finish. It started with Enter Sandman, and I want to preface this by saying this group does an incredible job. I don't know if it's a group. I don't know if it's a person. I don't know if it's a team. I don't know if it's, the Wizard of Oz himself or herself. I'm not even sure what the gender is of Wizard of Oz, but they do an unbelievable job. We had a hype video go out earlier in the week. They do a great job, and they have set that standard so high that this was the first time that I can remember it wasn't perfect. It's game one. I know we're going to improve, but the timing between Let's Go and Enter Sandman starting, there's about a 10 or 15 second delay between those two things happening. And there was no acapella at the end of it. We also had, whenever we have like this pregnant plane, it's a cool plane that does the flyover, but it's not like a flyover. It's more of like I'm going to do a couple laps around the stadium and just, you can take some pics, and the pics look great. But whenever we get like this big belly plane, it's doing like laps around the stadium. So we didn't get I wouldn't call that a flyover. I would call that like a meet and greet with the Air Force. So shout out to the Air Force for the meet and greet with the powers that be.
They're gonna come after you for that one. I mean, it was very much a flyover.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like "and the home of the brave." We didn't get that.
It wasn't a stealth bomber. It was
it wasn't.
Big plane.
It wasn't even like an F-15 or F-16.
Still looks cool.
But no disrespect. It's just different. That was one of the many things that were different. Another thing that was different, Pat, we've heard from multiple people that Hokey Pokey played twice. We've heard that. We heard it was at halftime. We heard it was the end of the first quarter. I know you're sitting up in your chair because you don't believe it, but I have heard it from multiple people, not just Casey and Hannah. I've heard it from multiple people that it's been played multiple times. That may or may not have happened.
The debate was, I heard it during the second half. That was the argument. And I said, no, it played at halftime. Now, I know it's the 50th year of the MVs, so they might be doing, doubling up here and there. Maybe I missed it in the second quarter. If someone can please fact check this information at Spirit of Tech, if if it played one time or two times, there's a lot on the line right here in the group chat. I think it played in the second half. Actually, I know it played in the second half, but always
it can't be.
The
It
MV.
can't be what it's all about twice. You can't, and that's what it's all about 2 times. You only need to, and that's what it's all about 2 times. Now we did turn ourselves around in the second half.
We
All right.
did.
Let me ease into this a little bit. We're not at the game yet, but can you talk about? We had an awesome detour from section 129 after the first quarter.
Well, we do get to our seats, and our seats look a little different.
Mm-hmm.
They do have the seats on the seats, and I think generally speaking, there have been some opinions on the new seat backs. And I think that would be a light summary. People are saying a lot of things about the seat backs.
People hate them.
Some people don't like
People
them.
hate them.
Some people say I like them, but I'm 5'6".
Mm-hmm.
What were your biggest takeaways from your experience?
I think, and I want to preface this by saying, I think that the spirit of the exercise was rooted in good. I think that if you think about this strategically, you think, okay, we're going to stop crowding sections. It's going to make it easier for somebody that has a seat and maybe a student or somebody else is in their seat to easily say, this is my seat, hit the road. I think that a lot of people liked it in the beginning because they thought it would be more comfortable. I think it is. I sat in it. I didn't have a problem. It didn't feel like sitting in an airplane. I actually, for the few times that I did sit down during timeouts or before the game or whatever, it felt fine. People were talking about it like you have to sit super erect. That's not true, in my opinion.
I mean, okay, let's not tell people how they felt.
In my opinion, it didn't feel like flying American. For the bad, shuffling in and out of rows is a disaster. I felt awful going to the bathroom or going to high five somebody because you almost have to completely get out of the row to move it. And it's not because it's taking up the space in the aisle. It's just if people typically are asking to move, you just stand up on the railing and you can't do that anymore. That's number one. Number two, I miss the climb over, man. Like if something good happens, you run over and you high five your buddy, you give a hug over a couple of rows, you jump over and get fired up. That's kind of gone. If I had to say one positive, it does protect your beer or pizza or popcorn. So if you stuff it under your seat, the days of it getting just automatically knocked over are over. So, I think the spirit of the exercise was good. I think, putting it lightly, a good portion of people do not like it.
There were some damaged appendages. I did see some pictures.
Some nasty marks, dude. How were you sitting on that chair? I don't even know how that were you cannonballing onto the chair? I mean, some of them were crazy. I don't know what you were doing.
Yeah. When you're on an American Airlines flight and the person in front of you just can't sit still. I think that's what we must have gotten. Someone was just rocking back and forth the whole game into, our friend's knees or shins. I even saw some calves that were damaged, which I don't know how that happened. But I think another thing is that it ignites the down in front people who say, I have a seat now and I'm going to sit in my seat.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I like standing, obviously. East stands is the place to stand, I'd be interested to know what the survey feedback would be if you surveyed the West stands versus surveying the East stands and just generally understand what the opinions are, because the East stands, they're usually standing the whole game. And
yeah.
This empowers them to feel like they should be sitting because they have something to sit on now. So I don't know.
Well said. Well said. I'm interested to see how it pans out. I'm strongly considering removing mine, but I don't want to remove mine if nobody else is going to, because it doesn't really change anything other than the fact that I would personally stand on my thing, and that would ruin the experience for the people behind me. So unless we as a section would decide that we would do that together, I don't think I'm going to do it.
So you're saying we have a real dilemma on our hands?
Oh, for sure. Without a question. Like, yeah, without a question. Cliv, do we want to talk about our guy, Cliv Cranwell?
Can we talk about the students, how the student section is huge now?
Can we talk about, all right, I was debating doing this. I'm not going to do it on social media because I didn't want to just emaciate the kid. But I don't know if it's VT Barstool. No, I actually think it's Red Cup. I like the Red Cup guy. He's just posting content. There was some kid post a video of him picking up a turkey leg, picking it up, and just throwing it into a mass of people. And I'm not going to compare you to something extraneously awful. I don't know what your heart is like or your vibes are like, but I do want to encourage people, please don't throw food into a sea of people.
Or anything.
Or anything. I'm not saying that you suck if you do that, but that action does suck. And not always do good people do sucky things sometimes. And I have no patience for it. It's awful. Stop throwing stuff. It's not cool, especially when you're sitting behind people who aren't just students. You know, students probably don't getting hit in the head with a chicken leg. You know who definitely doesn't like getting hit with a chicken leg? A 58-year-old woman would not like getting hit in the head with a chicken leg. Would you throw a chicken leg at your mom? Probably not. Probably not.
Billy Ray, 2 years ago, Boston College game.
Mm-hmm.
Girls sitting 3 rows behind us. One of them got hit right in between the eyes with a turkey leg.
Heinous act. Heinous.
Inch to the left, inch to the right, she could be blind.
You'd have to have a pretty weak orbital socket for that to be the case, but I mean, maybe.
I mean, some of those bones are sharp, man.
Yeah, just stop throwing stuff. It's whack. Nobody likes that. If somebody does it, police them. I'm not condoning violence, but I am condoning policing.
Please be a good Hokie. Thank you. Shout out to our guy, Cliv Cranwell. We did hang out with Cliv in the second quarter and into halftime. That is where I heard the Hokey Pokey halftime up with Cliv. But Cliv and Jana, great people. Great hanging out with them. And looking forward to seeing you guys in Blacksburg all season long. Did you want to touch on one or two more things before we jump into the game? The Simba Cam.
I think Simba Cam was great. One of the best Simba Cams I can remember. I want to talk about the game. We're 17 minutes in. Let's talk about the game. Couple things. Jekyll and Hyde is my theme for this football game. It has been the theme of the year so far. Now, theme of the year, that's 2 football games. But driving into the game, I said in the car, we need to look markedly better in our first couple of drives, or I can definitely see people booing. We did get that. We had a 3-and-out with 2 minutes left in the first half. There were not roaring boos, but there were boos. And before that, there were some stomach ache ones, you know, kind of when you're watching a basketball game and you miss like your 3rd shot in a row and this crowd goes, oh, you kind of hear that. First half, this is a stunning number. First half, we had 8.5 drives. I say 8.5 because we had the ball at the end of the half and I didn't really count it. So let's just say 8 drives. The drive chart for those 8 drives were turnover on downs, punt, 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 field goal, punt, punt. You know, and this is coming after, you know, the first half we had last week. We go up in halftime 10-7 with 3 points from the offense and 1 on a punt return touchdown from Jalen Lane. It was electric, but you know, 20 minutes and 12 seconds of possession, 138 yards, 1 of 9 on 3rd down. You know, it just has to be better. It has to. We are too talented. We're getting into offense and defense, but we are too talented to have 3 offensive points in 8 drives. I don't care who we're playing, much less Marshall. I'm not disrespecting Marshall. They're one of the better group of 5 teams, but this Virginia Tech Hokies team has been talked about and I believe has talent all over the field to compete for an ACC championship. You can't put up 3 points in 8 drives. It cannot happen. And it did. So that is my theme, Jekyll and Hyde, team of 2 halves, because Virginia Tech did come out in the second half, scored 21 points, looked markedly better, still had some issues, but that is my theme, Jekyll and Hyde.
It was just another scary first quarter, especially considering we came out of the gate and got 2 or 3 first downs on the first drive, and then all of a sudden we stalled out.
Well, it definitely wasn't on the first drive because we had a turnover on. Oh, no, we did. No, that's my bad. Yeah. That's my bad. It's my bad. You're right.
The first drive we did have a turnover on down, right? After moving the football, after benefiting from, I think it was a personal foul or a defensive hold, and then just not moving the ball vertically down the field, not making any efforts to establish the run either.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the booing. I think it was a tunnel screen to Jalen Lane behind the line of scrimmage. 2 minutes left in the first quarter. It's 3rd down and 14 yards to go, and we're throwing it behind the line of scrimmage to Jay Lane, who gets eaten up right away. Could not be further away from the sticks, and just schematically, I just don't understand the lack of aggressive getting the ball down the field. Like, it was so freaking frustrating to see. And the Boo Birds, like, they have every right to do that. I mean, this is just not what we came to see.
My problem is not necessarily taking shots down the field. That might be a hot take. My issue is, number one, our wide receivers are not getting separation. That's not happening. I think, and we're going to talk about Kyron later, so I'll save it, but there are way too few attempts to exploit the middle of the football field. And when I say that, Marshall goes 2 high safeties for most of the game and basically are begging you to run the ball and begging you to attack the middle of the field. And we didn't do it again. And good football teams love 2nd and 5, 3rd and shorts. And the way you get to those are by exploiting the middle of the football field, crossing routes, flags, any type of action in between the hashes. And we just didn't see a ton of that. You don't have to get all the yards in one play. And it feels like we're kind of trying to do that. And that is something that Virginia Tech fans look back on last year with, Daquan Felton against Virginia, Daquan Felton against Pittsburgh, the Syracuse game. I think we have the ability to take the top off of the defense, but you got to do the little things first. You got to run the ball effectively. You got to get the box stacked by the defense. And we have just not shown an ability to do that. I have 2 memes that I have mentioned following both of these games. Actually, I mentioned one after the Vanderbilt game, and I mentioned another one after this one. So after the Vanderbilt game, the way that I kind of felt, and the way I felt a lot of people did in the first half, was that SpongeBob scene where Patrick is racing the rock against like Gary the Snail and like Sandy and everybody else. And, the rock obviously doesn't move at all when the bell goes off. And Patrick goes, "It's okay, Rocky. You can go when you like." And there's that kind of feeling with us where it's like, our offense, dude, we're stacked. We're going to put up points. We haven't done it yet in a complete football game. We've shown spurts of being able to do it, but I'm really hoping that Rocky gets moving here, because we have one more football game, and that's Old Dominion, to iron out what our identity is going to be before we play Rutgers and Miami back-to-back. Both of these teams are really good. They're really well coached. They have talent. Rutgers is going to be fantastic on the defensive front and on the offensive front and in the run game. X's and O's, Shiano is going to have them ready to roll. And then you go and play Mario Cristobal in Miami, who looks like an absolute world beater right now with Cam Ward and his wide receivers and Restrepo and an NFL defensive line, goes out, handles business against Florida. I mean, we really have to identify what our identity is. And then the other meme is probably the more disheartening one. And it's kind of, there are these videos on Twitter that go out of babies, like you pretend to hit a baby's head on a wall, and then like you react like the baby actually hit their head, and the baby starts crying. But what does the baby do before that? He looks to the parent to see how he needs to react. We almost, as a football team, look like we are looking around for a reason to get excited, looking around for a reason to feel good about what's happening. And this happened last year, and Kyron Drones changed that by himself against Pittsburgh. He completely changed the body language of this football team by how he carried himself, and the moxie and the confidence and the just energy that he exudes. And this is not a Kyron thing. This is just an overall team thing. The first sign that I saw of a team, again, I'm not saying they don't want to win the game, I'm not saying they don't want to be there, but the first sign of a team that I saw that was fired up to play football, fired up to play with one another, and fired up to be there was the Mansour D-Lane interception. It happened right on our sideline. The entire sideline mobs the field. I think we got a sideline warning. People were going nuts. And I just want to get back to that. We can talk about scheme. We can talk about offensive line. We can talk about pass route trees and all of that. And that's all important. But to me, the bare minimum and what we need to get back to is the excitement and love of playing together. And that ends my meme soliloquy there.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it's almost like it needs to be manufactured because we don't have it. And watching the press conference, coach says how we were sluggish with the execution and couldn't get it going. And what needs to be manufactured? It's the home opener. You got a sellout crowd. It is
against the team that beat you last year.
Against a team that embarrassed you on the road last year. That's a G5 team. And by the way, last week's loss will be remembered for a really long time. What more do you need to get fired up? How are you not ready to get it going to beat the shit out of Marshall?
Yeah. And that's why I say, that's why this Old Dominion game is so important, is you have to come out of that game knowing what you're doing, why you're doing it, and who you're doing it for. Plain and simple. I'm not trying to start like a, apparel brand, but you got to know those three things. So we'll turn the page to offense. And I just want to say the one, we fumbled the ball in the second play of the game. We fell on it in minus territory, thank goodness. But ball security, got to have it. But that was certainly frustrating.
What else was frustrating? Daquan Felton got the ball on the first drive of the game and then wasn't targeted, or at least didn't get the ball in his hands until his touchdown, which was the last points that we scored on Saturday.
What do you have, two catches for 14 yards or something like that?
So for the year, Daquan Felton is the fifth receiver on the team in total yards. He has 4 catches for 27 yards and a touchdown. So he's touched the ball 4 times this year. And this is a guy who had 8 touchdowns. Here's a guy who had 8 touchdowns last year, who is a threat with his speed over the top, who can throw a little bit of quickness and make a guy miss in space, who is 6'5", and I mean, is he Damon Hazleton reincarnated? Like, he's a big guy, and he's gotten the ball 4 times all year. And it's just for the wide receiver room in general. I mean, like, where is this team without the Gosnell brothers? Steven Gosnell's our leading receiver. The guy had one leg right after the bowl game with the ACL tear. And he's got five catches, 126 yards, made probably one of the most incredible catches that Lane Stadium has seen in the last decade on Saturday.
Yeah.
You got the bad boys who are, Jalen Lane, who had so many awesome big chunk play yardage gains last year from going to him across the middle, hitting him on a slant. hitting him on a crossing route. And he's only getting in the end zone because he's busting through on a punt return.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, we got the bad boys. We got a stacked wide receiver room. We're probably paying these guys a ton of money in NIL. And, you know, this was a huge, huge, huge momentum play of the offseason. It's making sure everyone's coming back because everyone on this team in this unit is so damn talented. Mm-hmm. We got Ollie Jennings. I can't even believe this stat. Ollie Jennings has 2 catches, you know? Vachel Tootin is our leading receiver. And thank God for him. But I just really, really am having a hard time understanding what went down in that first half and why we can't establish an identity in front of a sellout crowd in the home opener with all these guys on the field.
And look, it's a beautiful thing and a hideous thing that we won a football game 31-14, and this is what we're talking about. But it's what I want people to come away from this with is, again, we have to have an identity. And there is not a shortage of, when we say all of this, like, I don't want to speak for both of us, but when I think of what you just said, I'm not saying that I think individually those guys are not playing well. I feel like we are still figuring out how to get the ball to our most effective football players in positions that put them in a position to succeed. And we have not figured out how to do that on the offensive side of the ball yet.
And my unanswerable question to that is, what has changed since the Virginia game last year?
I mean, it's the same roster. It's a year older. And it feels a whole lot like the beginning of last year. And again, I'm hoping that moment is coming down the tracks where we put it together. We have put it together in spurts. I still am kind of waiting for that drive that's like, you know, we had one 12-play drive for 50 yards that ended up in a touchdown to go up 17 to, or I think this was to go up 17-7. You know, but at the same standpoint, you had 1st and goal at the Marshall 4, and you end up scoring on 4th and goal at the Marshall 1. So I'm still waiting for that, 15-play, 80-yard drive, cap it off with a touchdown. We still haven't seen it yet. So got to figure it out.
Spread the sugar, but the sugar starts with one guy. You said coming down the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about Tootin for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, look, Tootin runs the ball extremely hard. He never gets too high. He never gets too low. Not to steal a Beamer quote, but that's kind of how I've always felt about him. And, he's averaging 5.5 yards a carry. At least he was in this football game. I imagine that his year is around the same.
Yeah, it's at 5.
Yeah, it's at 5. So, obviously every time you give him the ball, he's not getting 5 yards because we've seen him get stuffed a couple of times. But that's because he's going east and west. That's because we miss a block here, we miss a block there, and he makes up for it in these, big plays or gets in a little bit of a rhythm. So, yeah, I mean, second half to this Jekyll and Hyde thing, we scored a touchdown on our first 2 drives at halftime, 12 plays, 11 runs, and a touchdown, 200 yards of offense, 21 points. I mean, I need to see it for 4 quarters. And I need to know what our identity is. I know I'm beating it to death here, but I really want to see what we still don't know what the Virginia Tech 2024 offense looks like when and if it gets to humming.
I mean, I feel like the recipe isn't secret. It's not hidden anywhere. It's what we did last year against Syracuse and Pittsburgh and Virginia, and the second half, I hate saying that, against NC State. What we saw in the bowl game, albeit the conditions, Wake Forest, whatever we saw in the second half of the season, we destroyed Castellanos in Boston College last year up in Chestnut.
On the road.
And we ran the ball so well that game. It starts with number 33. And we ran him really, really well on Saturday.
Downhill, not sideways.
Throughout the entirety of the second half, the misdirections were awesome. He was just splitting the middle. We were creating lanes for him. The run the run blocking was good. And he was crushing 6, 7, 8 yard runs. every single time he got the ball. Now, here's a stat that Bryce did call me about an hour ago, and he said, "Hey, did you know that on drives that started in the first, second, and fourth quarters, Bashal Tutin had 11 carries and Tech had 0 touchdowns? On drives
11 carries total?
11
Wow.
carries total across those 3 quarters. On drives that started in the third quarter, Tutin had 11 carries, and we scored 3 touchdowns."
That's interesting. I wonder where he got that stat. Only he would have that stat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the recipe. And again, that's not saying we need to exclusively run the ball, but to open up the pass, you got to run the ball. And I'm going to talk about this later extensively, but it doesn't mean run the ball with Kyron Drones 100 times. But we'll get to that. Anything else in the offense?
I guess just to put a bow on it, it's clear that in the passing game, Drones is not fully himself compared to where he was last year.
I don't even think that's fair. I think that he's being I think that we're not running what I know he's good at.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, we're asking this guy. I mean, I'll do it now.
We're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole with this offense right now.
And I'm not even saying that he doesn't have the ability to do it, because I know he's still developing as a quarterback. But I was in the stands, we keep saying, why do we keep running rollout? We're not running rollout.
No.
He is getting flushed out of the pocket play after play after play after play, and having to run around, take his eyes off of downfield, not look for Daquan Felton, not look for Ali Jennings, not look for a Gosnell brother, not looking for Jalen Lane. He's trying to run for his life. And of course it's difficult to get in a rhythm in that situation. Of course it's difficult to try to get to where you need to go as a quarterback and mature. So I'm really hoping to see some more of this 3-step drop, some more of this RPO, some more of this over the middle stuff. And one more stat that stood out to me is Kyron Drones has 31 rushing attempts in 2 weeks. Now, granted, are some of those scrambles? Absolutely. But 31 rushing attempts is the exact same amount of rushing attempts that Bashal Tutin has. Kyron Drones has rushed the ball as many times as Bashal Tutin has. And you could say that some of these are scrambles, but it counts against his body exactly the same. He's getting hit at a minimum. He's either walking to the end zone, running out of bounds, or getting hit 31 times in 2 games. It's not sustainable. It's not good. And it is a area of concern for me. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I think you nailed it with the read option and the 3-step drops.
Yeah. RPO, definitely not the read option.
Yeah.
You don't need to take more hits, but
RPO is what I meant.
Flip it over to you have one more thing?
Yeah. We haven't seen it, and I don't even think we saw it that much last year, but remember Gerard Evans would just lean back and throw it to Isaiah Ford in the end zone, and it was a jump ball, and Isaiah would come down with it.
I'll tell you who actually did it a bunch and doesn't get a ton of credit for it was Josh Jackson. Was like the I'm going to throw it up and Cam Phillips will catch it king. Like he did that. You go back and you watch that West Virginia game. Like the amount of times that he threw the ball up and had trust in his wide receivers. Again, I'm not saying that I don't even think we have time to do something like that, but this is the type of wide receiver room that we have that I feel like can just moss people, to take a Marshall reference. And it seems like a lot of what we're doing is trying to scheme receivers open versus just letting them go guy on guy and saying our guy's better than your guy. And I got to tell you, for a lot of teams we play, our guys are going to be better than their guys. They're wide receivers. And also the guys that our guys are practicing against at defensive back are better than the guys that they're playing on Saturday or Friday or Thursday. So we got to put a bow on this, Pat. Again, we won the game, but good God, let's get an identity and let's get this thing rolling. It should be fun. We got so much talent on this team. And I want to see them thrive. I want to see them do what I know they're capable of doing because we've seen it before. Flipping over to the defense. I'll start with a positive. Our defensive back play was much improved. Much improved. I don't think Marshall's quarterback was anything to write home about. But a Pete B stat that he tweeted out yesterday, Virginia Tech had 12 pass breakups as a team. Since 2016, we have not had more than 9 in a game. That 9 came twice against West Virginia in 2017 and Miami in 2019. We have not had more than 7 since that Miami game. 12 pass breakups in a game
That's a dozen.
Crazy. That's not 12 incompletions. That's 12 passes broken up by defensive backs. And I have to tip my hat to Dante Levitt. I think Dante Levitt played an unbelievable football game. He was called on, answered the bell, and played a great football game. So shout out to Dante. Really awesome game. Really excited for his future. Looks great in number 1.
Yeah.
And also shout out to Q Reddish. He played well as well.
Reddish was good. Delane had a nice pick off a Mose Phillips tip. Dorian Strong had another solid outing. I mean, this quarterback, yeah. I mean, let's call it what it is. He was not a good football player, at least for giving them a chance to win a football game. It was every single time he would just stare down his first read and just kind of throw a lollipop.
I don't have a problem with the defense, actually. If we're going to just – I think the defense played great.
Yeah.
I don't think that – again, I don't think Marshall was fantastic. But the defense very much needed to answer the bell. They held Marshall to 1 of 9 on 3rd down in the first half, just like we did. But they held Marshall at 278 yards, forced a turnover, played really well. So hats off.
No stupid penalties. Definitely utilize Lane Stadium to their advantage on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what you would expect out of Virginia Tech playing against Marshall at home on defense. Marshall scored, we could really call it 10 points or 7 points on offense. They blocked a kick and they had the ball at the 5-yard line. So if you really think about it, when we don't have to argue semantics, but this defense had a great game.
Special teams, I don't want to be mean. We're coming off of a week where we lost a football game because of a 0-0 situation. It's a procedural issue. We didn't have it happen again this week. But on our second punt, we have an illegal procedure. On a punt that would have had Marshall down on the 8-yard line, illegal procedure, you're getting flagged before the play even happens. And you got to repunt. And it's just, we got to get this figured out. I mean, we saw this. We just can't. It can't happen. We can't be getting penalties before the play even starts. Especially on special teams.
Not with Beamer and the 99 team in the house.
No, you can't.
Time and place.
You can't. And you mentioned it, the punt block for Marshall's second quarter touchdown. I mean, that was horrifying. And I want to say, like, I actually think Kyle Lowe. I actually think our kicking. Somebody asked me. They said, "Hey, what do you feel really good about with your team?" I gotta say, our kicker's been pretty lights out. I also want to shout out that I haven't been really worried about field goals in like
Billy Ray,
a decade.
Billy Ray, I'm gonna need you to knock on wood.
Yeah, you're right. But I feel like our kicking has been this.
Man, you can't.
No, it's not college Tech kickers. It's Virginia Tech kickers. They've been great.
They're great.
Really they've been fantastic. I mean, Brian Johnson was one of the best kickers in college football. I can't remember if it was his 2020 or 2021 or 2019, whatever year. I think it was 2019. He was great. But we've had a really nice stretch of really awesome kicking. I'm also going to miss kickoffs when we start doing that NFL bullshit. But
did it go? Joey Sly, Brian,
Sly, Brian,
JPR, dude,
JPR, Will Ross, John Love. They've all been great.
Yeah,
so
they have.
Helmet stickers. We got.
I just want to say too, if you watch their punt block. They did a really good job, Marshall. Like I think
they Belichicked it.
you
did.
have to tip your cap to
Yeah.
Marshall there. I don't know
The only thing from a schematical perspective that you can, maybe ask for is the gunner. When he sees his guy cheating down, you need to let
call it out.
shield know
Well,
that
Nelson
there's a
was on
guy.
there.
Yeah, you need to like flag and let him know. But he timed it so well that there was I don't think there was any way that we would have gotten the message over there.
He could have just taken the ball off of Pete's foot and just ran.
Yeah.
Like, it was like the
wonderfully executed play. If he did that 100 times, I don't think he would have timed it that well. Unless there's something that we're doing that is giving when we're going to snap the ball, which I'm sure if that's the case, they're on it now. But incredible job by Marshall's staff to cue that up.
Huff was fired up. Did you see him jumping around?
Yeah. I mean, I would be fired up too. Yeah, for sure.
Hard to dislike Charles Huff. Like that guy.
Yeah.
Helmet stickers. I'm going to give one out to the tugboat Tootin. He did come out with a tugboat chain at the presser.
Oh,
he earns it all the time, man. Every single time Bashal Tootin is in front of the podium, you knew that guy went out there and did his job on Saturday. 22 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Caught 4 balls, averaging 5 a carry. And we are adding a tally mark to the Chris Riegard Benny's Slices pledge per Tootin touchdown. He has to do 1 slice of Benny's at the next game, and we will hold him accountable to that slice at the Rutgers game. You giving out any helmet stickers?
No.
Nope. Okay. Well, both Gosnells made unbelievable catches on Saturday. I don't know if diving catches are in their blood. I don't know if they ever played center field or watched Willie Mays growing up, but they looked awesome on Saturday, and really are glad that they're on our football team. Let's see. Let's attack the Grant Watson over-unders from last week. Tootin rushing carries 16.5, hit the over with 22 carries. Drones passing yards at 259.5. That went under. And then Virginia Tech defense points allowed, 14.5, also hit the under. I think we were wrong on like all 3 of these, Billy Ray.
I don't think I was.
No, I think we missed on the defense points allowed, and I think we had 2 or 3.
Okay, so that's way better than 0%.
Yeah.
Walking out of Lane Stadium feeling. Look, we won the game by around the margin we believe we would. That first half, I think, was just impossible to bounce back by. It was kind of like putting lipstick on a pig. A win is a win is a win is a win. It was a win, a win, a win, a win is a win.
Stop.
Whoa. We did win the game. I think everybody left wanting more. And I really hope we get some coming up soon. Where do we go from here before we get into the ACC? Do you want to give me your where do you go from here?
Yeah, I really hope practice is a hard practice week, and we are figuring some things out. We're figuring out the sluggish start. We're figuring out the 1 of 9 on third downs in the first half. We're figuring out how to scheme guys downfield rather than east-west. Mm-hmm. And we're going to figure out how to get the ball in Tootin's hands early in the game rather than when it's too late. I mean, you can't just start running the ball in the second half. You might be losing the football game. You can't run the ball in the second half when you're coming from behind.
We learned that lesson a week ago. And also I think it's important to get Kyron some confidence. And he's going to need to get that by getting just a couple seconds to throw the ball. Just a couple seconds.
We need some separation. I know the offensive line still has a ways to go. Mm-hmm. Or they're at their late season form of last year where I felt like we could watch this team and feel confident that the offense knew what they were doing.
Around the ACC, I thought it was a pretty damn good week for the ACC, at least the middle of it. Cal beat Auburn at Jordan Hare. Whoa.
Who had that?
Not me. Not me.
Auburn fans, big mad. Coming after Hugh Freeze on the internet.
Pittsburgh beat Cincinnati on the road. Talk about just a couple of fan bases who wear jeans and sweatshirts and eat mustard. Like, whoa. So Pitt beat Cincinnati on the road. Big Power 4 win for the Pittsburgh Panthers. Clemson absolutely pounded App State. I was not only on App State to cover, I was on App State to win.
And
I lost both. Clemson beat App State 66-20. Duke beat Northwestern in one of the weirdest games of the weekend. I went to sleep with I think the score is 13-10, and I had over 35.5 or over 38, and it ended up hitting in double overtime. They played that game in a high school stadium, and Duke won. It was pretty crazy. Bad. Tennessee absolutely destroyed NC State in Charlotte. I have heard all year about how good NC State was going to be. And look, again, kind of like us, they still have everything right in front of them, but that was really bad. Really bad. 51-10, your final in the Queen City. SMU lost to BYU at home. Christians and Mormons.
They're down bad. I watched the second half of that game. I don't know what happened if Preston Stone either got hurt or they just yanked him, but they had like a Xavier Turner Bradshaw guy playing quarterback where they just had this dude running. It was like Kyler Murray if Kyler Murray didn't have any arms. And he was just running all over and just like zipping ducks all over the field. Mm-hmm. Really, really tough loss. Recreation of the, I don't know what year, Holiday Bowl, College Classics. You guys ever played NCAA football? I believe it was 2003. Had the Holiday Bowl SMU BYU on College Classics.
Mormons, man, they play the hell out of the football. They really do.
They play the hell out of the football.
Observations. I'll save this one for last. But I'm telling you, Kyle McCord, I said it on Hot Wings and Hot Takes.
Crown him, Mikey. Crown him.
That kid can play ball. 32 of 46, 381, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Georgia Tech falls to Syracuse in the Dome. Kyle McCord can play.
Where's the Packer quote?
What is it? Oh, the Dome quote? Yeah. You need to tweet that. But yeah, Kyle McCord, man, he can play. He heard everybody saying he can't play well because Ohio State, they would have won a natty if he wasn't there, which might be true, but kid can play. Here's my last point. Virginia football is going to score points, and Virginia football is going to beat a team that they shouldn't beat. I am Jake Malasic, cover your ears. I'm in on Calandria. I think he's fun. I think he's a beautiful disaster. I think he had 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. Went on the road, beat Wake Forest 31-30. He's quirky. He dances in post game on his Instagram live. But if you're a Virginia fan, you got to be fired up about Calandria.
Dude is completing 76. He completed 76% of his passes on Saturday.
Yeah, I know. And 3 of them went to the other team. But so the kid can play though. So Calandria and McCord, I think they're both going to put up big numbers. McCord will probably be a little bit more efficient, but wow.
Yeah. Shout out to our guy Trey Kelleher.
Yeah, shout out to him.
I will be in Charlottesville this weekend, by the way.
Wow.
Will not be at the Maryland Virginia game. I will be at a fall wedding. So hopefully the ESPN Plus app can show me the Hokies at 6:00 wherever I am.
Early line on ODU.
13.5. It's now up to 14.
I'll bet it right now. I'm going to bet it right now.
Okay.
And here's what I'm going to say while I'm placing this bet. I'm really not asking for much. I'm not. I'm just asking us to sack up and go beat Old Dominion by a lot of points. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that that's outlandish. I don't think that that's wild. I just want us to sack up and beat ODU. Virginia Tech, Power 4 school, winning program, talented roster. Go beat Old Dominion by a lot of points. Can we just do that?
Please.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. So
you know what we didn't get, or we did get, but it wasn't great on Saturday. Our first win pick of the season.
I'm also getting 13.5.
Okay, there you go. We did get our first win pick of the season. Section 5 win pick. It is section 129 now.
Yes. A little harder to get down there with the chairs.
We will get better win picks, assuming we win some more football games.
All right. Let's give Sam the sheriff a little bit more credit here. He was not properly equipped to take this picture. It did look like he took it on his body cam, like it was a rough pick. Also, yeah, it was just a rough pick. Smudgy lens, everything, but it got done. I told him, I said, hey, look, I mean, we got a guy who might run over and take a picture for us. If he doesn't, I'm going to ask this cop to do it. And he did. Shout out to him. I wish he backed up a little further.
Yeah, the bench would have been awesome if he stood up on the bench, but we will have some more Section 5 win picks coming your all's way. And we hope that all of you are there to be in them. That being said, we are very excited, Billy Ray, about the Section 5 club. Do you want to tell people about the Section 5?
So if you're on the Nashville distribution list or you're on our newsletter, you would have heard about this already. We announced our Section 5 club. We look at Sons of Saturday since 2019. We love doing the podcast. We love talking about Virginia Tech. We love tweeting, Instagram. That's all fun and dandy. But what makes it really special is the community, and the community is you all. And looking back, we've done 3 years of Spring Jam in Blacksburg, having awesome alumni come back, having fans come back, and having an awesome night out at McLean's. That's a ton of fun. 3 road trip takeovers, going to Rutgers for a women's basketball game, a football game, and now Nashville. Pat, I want to tip my cap. You did an awesome job. It was a labor of love for Labor Day weekend. You did an awesome, awesome job. And, we really want to dive in and do more in the event space. It's been a ton of fun. And, we're eyeing potentially doing it again in Atlanta. Got to start winning some of these, but that's out of our control. Over $100,000 in NIL efforts from Sons of Saturday. You look at Slam Jam, you look at the Player Ran podcasts, you look at some other things that we've done. That's been really, really important to us, is giving back to help players that we cheer for and we love to be successful off the field and make sure that they capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. And then an incredible community. You all. You are what make it special. Slam Jam, all of these different things. We love doing it. And our call to action is, if you get $5.55 out of Sons of Saturday, or you want to support our efforts, or you want to help and get to enjoy some of the things that we're working to put together, this will fuel our ability to do so. And on top of that, we're going to be giving stuff out every single week. We have around, I believe it's $5,000 worth of things that we're giving away this year, whether it's Rowback apparel, whether it's tickets to games. We already have a winner for the Clemson ticket giveaway that we announced. So we'll be saying that in our next podcast. But if you are a member at any level, there are awesome, awesome things for you to take a part of. We'll be doing, random giveaways selected, special deals. We have a couple of partners that we work with in Blacksburg that will be offering discounts to members of this club. So we will go ahead and we will link it in the tweet. We will link it in the article as well. But we really, really would appreciate it. And ultimately, we hope to give it all back and work on some awesome events in the Blacksburg community. So super excited.
Again, it's $5.55 monthly. So, you know, it's a coffee, really. If you think Sons of Saturday is worth a coffee every month, we would love to welcome you into the Section 5 Club. We'll link it to the article that goes out here. And I also want to say we're going to do like a bar tab for the Clemson game. We'll be in town all weekend for the Clemson game. If you're a Section 5 Club member, you're invited to drink on us at one of the bars that we ended up doing this with. So,
yeah.
It's more than just like, hey, maybe you'll win a giveaway every now and then. Like we want to try to do quarterly or at least once every half of the year an event for just our members. We also have the Founders Club, which we do have a few Founders Club members. I think there's 3 so far. Hopefully that number increases. $18.72 a month will get you in the Founders Club. And Founders Club gets you access to the ticket community, which I know is a big deal. Ticket exchange, the Discord, and Founders Club only type opportunities as well. So appreciate all of you, and thanks for listening.
Unfortunately, we did not have any letters from Lunch Pail. So we're going to have a dialogue. I asked the question.
You did.
Of what would we name the Hokie bird? You got Brutus the Buckeye. Why am I having trouble thinking of another one? You have Mrs. Pack and Mr. Pack.
No, it's Mrs. Woof. Mr. and Mrs. Woof.
Mr. and Mrs. Woof. You got the hurricane thing.
Sebastian.
From Miami. Sebastian.
You got Buzz at Georgia Tech. You got Ramses at Carolina. The Deacon. I'm assuming they should call him like Donald Deacon or something.
Orange Man at Syracuse.
Dude, Otto the Orange. You didn't look over any of these before jumping on here.
But here's the thing. We don't have one. We have the Hokie bird. And I've actually used to be a Hokie bird seller. I'm a buyer. I'm in on the Hokie bird.
Wait, time out. What happened? What changed?
I don't know, man. Ever since he took that picture before the Old Dominion game, I think I think the sparks flew a little bit. And my stance was, it's not intimidating enough. It's not scaring anybody, but that's not what he's there for. He's there to be a friend. He's there for me to be a community builder. There are some incredible students who don't give up their Saturdays, but they do have to wear that big suit. And in October and November, it's probably pretty nice. In September, unless it was last Saturday, it probably sucks. So what would we name the Hokie bird? And I have to say, I think it was your suggestion. I love Hank.
Casey.
I love Hank. Hank is a couple letters away from Frank. And Hank the Hokie. Everybody give it up for Hank the Hokie. I mean, come on. Can we get this guy named Harriet? Hamza the Hokie?
We could go Hunter after Hunter Couture.
Hunter Hokie.
Hugh the Hokie. Hudson. Henry. I think Henry is a good, like, that only
the Hokie's good.
3. Henry or Harvey. What's the last one? Horace. I think Horace could be a funny one.
Yeah, that'd be good if we were Navy.
Tough name. Horace.
But yeah, put in the replies what you would name the Hokie. I'm open for male names, female names, dog names. Maybe we need a female Hokie bird. Maybe the Hokie bird is female.
I think the Hokie bird is male. Hokie bird is, if you go to the Instagram, there are pronouns and it does say he, him. So
wow.
We're gonna make the assumption that it is a male Hokie bird.
I also, I know this is getting off the rails here. We'll get back on in a second, but I don't understand the whole like stuffed animal person not talking. Like if you have I remember Elmo was at Cooper Fry's like 6th birthday party.
Too far off the rails.
And he wouldn't talk. And I spent like the whole birthday party like trying to get him to talk. I was like, "How old are you?" what color is this crayon?
We gotta
And
move
he
on.
just wouldn't.
We gotta move
He
off of
just
this.
wouldn't.
Sorry
Shout
to
outs.
bring out for you.
Shout outs. I want to shout out April. April, I met in section 5, 129. She listens to the podcast on her way to teach the youth of America, the youth of this great nation. And if you are listening right now in your truck, car, Prius, bicycle, or scooter, or unicycle, thank you for your hard work that you do for this country. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And it was great getting to meet you. That was my fun run in. Shout out to April. You know what? Hopefully, I think she teaches like 5th grade. If she could teach me like fractions and basic grammar, that would be awesome. I want to shout out Mike Crawford. He's an awesome follow on Twitter. He has put out some awesome pictures from all of the festivities with the 99 team. It was just awesome stuff. So shout out to Mike Crawford, and really, really appreciate it.
I didn't get to watch Frank's interview. I saw him on the TV of the CW, but we didn't get to listen with the audio. But it was great to see so many awesome Hokies from the 1999 team out there getting honored. I'm sure they had an incredible weekend full of laughter and storytelling and just making fun of each other, I'm sure. And one of those guys was Anthony Lambo, and I know he led the Let's Go Hokies cheer. And Lambo, offensive guard, I believe he was a guard. I think he was a guard for the 99 team. Guard or tackle, I can't remember. But Lambo came on the podcast a month or two ago with Rich Luttenberger, and just a class guy. Really love Lambo, and glad to see that he got some time with the mic in front of the crowd on Saturday. Go listen to that podcast, by the way, if you want to get to know Lambo and his story. Dalton DeRoche, Virginia Beach Hokies this weekend. Big time. Is it just Sam? Is Pete going too? Or is it just Sam?
I'm not sure if Pete's going. I think Pete might be going. I didn't get a chance to ask him.
Okay. So on Friday the 13th, spooky.
Whoa, spooky.
The night before playing Old Dominion, there is a kickoff party for the Virginia Tech at ODU weekend in Virginia Beach. It's called Aslin Beer Co. That's ASLIN Beer Company. Shout out to Dalton DeRoche. I'm pretty sure that's how it's spelled. DeRoche or said DeRoche.
I couldn't tell you, dude.
Dalton,
April could tell you.
Dalton's the man, big VB Hokie, and I know that he is helping coordinate, and they have relationships there at the Aslin Beer Company. So shout out to Sam, shout out to Dalton. If you're in VB, head on down to Aslin Beer Company on Friday night from 7 to 9 p.m. for a Sons of Saturday weekend kickoff party at Aslin Beer Company. It's gonna be
Please. Awesome. Oh my God, I know I'm going to say this on the next pod. Please win this game. Like, oh. Man, I can't believe we've been there twice and lost twice. Please win this game.
Please be careful. I heard some ODU fans were kind of wild. Have fun. Be careful. Last note, Steve Upton, side note, texted us yesterday. Joey Sly was waived by the Commanders, and then yesterday, justice was served. Joey went 3 for 3 with the Patriots. And the Commanders' new kicker was 0 for 2 and had a kickoff go out of bounds to give the Buccaneers starting position at the 40s. So shout out to Joey Sly. Shout out to John Love. Shout out to Beamer Ball and Special Teams. And shout out to you guys if you made it through 1 hour and 10 minutes of us rambling.
I thought that was good.
It was great.
A good pod.
It was great.
It was a great pod.
Time.
Last shout out. I don't know how we didn't mention this. That Fitzpatrick character for Marshall. Probably the best catch I've ever seen in Lane Stadium. Isaiah's had some good ones. It's kind of hard to beat that Boston College catch in the corner of the end zone or that ECU catch, but it's up there in best catches I've ever seen. Wow.
Isaiah did have some awesome catches at home.
He did.
On the road. Remember that one?
Dude. I know. Pittsburgh had that nice God, if we hit him in stride, he would have scored. But that play against Pittsburgh, I can't remember. It was Tennessee. Absolutely sat the guy down on a sluggo. But that is a podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, bet on Kyle McCord's overs, and let's find an offensive identity. Go Hokies, go sports. How did he say it?
Enjoy the games.
Enjoy the games.
Monday Night Football is next. Oh, shit.